Oh, there's the kitty. He just left that camera over there.
Ring the bell, means the train's gonna be moving. Please don't get off. After you hit the bell.
It's a train.
Hey, you seen Frank?
Oh, he's got Mr. Gordon.
Okay, folks, like I said, stick your hands out in there, keep your feet on the running boards. And if you drop anything, don't get down to pick it up. No, they didn't listen anyway.
You did say it's 100 years old.
Okay, folks, how do you like the tour? A little short? Okay. In 1943, they shut this mine down, it was mined out. They came back in here again in 1945. They started teaching underground fire hydrants here. They look on the wall, it's all that black. That's sucked. What they do is build a big fire fight and they do it. Now, once they got ready, they could go back to their own states, their own mines, and work on what they call a helmet group, which is underground firefighting.
Hey, Neil. Neil.
Yeah.
Let me show you that light.
See what?
I got one going out.
Okay, got you. You
Right
unhook
here.
the train?
Who's that standing there? Oh, that's you, okay.
Now, this little mine we're in right now has 7 levels. We're on level 3, we'll be on level 3. There's 2 below us and 4 above. Each level is 100 foot apart. Also in this mine, there's 150 miles of railroad and tunnel in this one. In the whole camp here, 29 different mines, we have 2,200 miles of railroad and tunnels. Enough to reach from the Atlantic to the Pacific and have about 200 miles left over. That's how big this mine was. Now, if you guys look way up there ahead of us, you're going to see a red light. Right on this side of that red light, on the left-hand side, is the original Queen Mine shaft. It took 2.5 years to sink it because of hand drilling, hand mucking, and all they had for lighting was candles. Now, the main reason we're stopped right here is to make sure everybody on the train's comfortable about being underground. We see one already took off. Now, if anybody else wants to go out, all you gotta do is tell my partner, he'll take you back out, you'll get a full refund. Might be in bitcoins or pesos. You guys all ready to go?
Yeah.
Everybody comfortable, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, they're good. Yep, okay, they're good.
The right now.
They're gonna laugh so hard.
supposed to go. Did you see those tracks going out about an 83 and there was a little minecart on it?
Okay, folks, if y'all want to get off on this side and follow me up these stairs, now watch your footing and use the handrail.
All right.
Okay, folks, before we get started right here, I want you to take a look right here on this back wall. See that hole? That's what you call a bug hole. I was driving tunnel up in Utah with one of those tunnel boring machines. I hit a bug hole about the same size as that. It was full of petrified bees. They turned to iron pyrite. No legs, no wings, but there were bees. They shut that whole job down for 2 weeks. Here come the University of Utah. There's only one bad thing I didn't do. I didn't grab a couple handfuls of those and put them in my lunchbox. I'd be down in the Bahamas now instead of doing this. Okay, folks, let me shut this gate here before somebody falls down the steps. This is what you call a stope. S-T-O-P-E. Now, how they found this area here was up there where that light is. They were following that vein of silver from outside. They thought this was another tombstone, silver mine only. They got to this point, they hit what they call the mother lode. Very high grade copper. They backed up from here, went back to the Queen mine, dropped down 100 feet. They came up down there from where that light is. Now it took a little over 4.5 years just to mine this area out. The reason why, hand drilling, hand mucking, very slow process. Any questions? Nope. All right. Now, in the 1880s here, the miners were working 2 10-hour shifts. They were issued 3 candles apiece for that 10-hour shift, and they made a whopping $3.50 a day. But at that time here, a loaf of bread was a penny. You could go to the best steakhouse in town with dessert for about 14 cents. So the money was really pretty good compared to what the cost of living was. This is what took so long though, the hand drilling. called a star steel and a 4-pound hammer. This is called a single jack. This is what you started your holes with. We called it collared in. Now, every time you hit this, you turn it a quarter turn. Quarter turn. The reason? Chisel bit, it gets stuck. But you want a nice clean round hole, because dynamite likes round holes. Okay? Now once you got collared in, you would switch to a regular drill steel. 12-pound hammer. This is called a double jack. The reason? One man's got to hold that steel and turn it while the other one swings this hammer. You got to remember, all they had was candles, but they got very good at it because they knew tomorrow their partner would be swinging. You mess up today, pretty much pay back tomorrow. Okay? Now it would take about 9 hours to drill 6 3-foot holes. They would load it with dynamite and blast it. Now the only way they had to get it out of here was wheelbarrows and shovels. They shovel it into a wheelbarrow right here, tram it all the way down there where that light is. There was a little wooden ramp. They run up on that light ramp, dump it into the ore car, and they got full, push it around to the queen, and hoist it out of here. Now, when we started using our equipment here, we had 3 different types of miners in this camp. If you'll look back there in this right-hand corner, you see that mannequin standing by that drill? Yeah. That drill is what they call a stoker drill. It's only used for drilling straight up. That's the raise miner. What they did is they drove the raise from one level, 100 feet, straight up to the next level. They're the only miners in the camp that didn't have an opposite shift. The reason? That was the most dangerous, nastiest, dirtiest job here. And they wanted to know exactly what was over their head every time they climbed up in there. But they got paid the best though. 5 foot a day for the company. Anything over 5 foot was $80 a piece per foot in bonus money. Then you had what they call a cross-cut miner, so the drift miners. You see up here? They got $40 a foot. The reason for the big difference is it's a lot easier to work on a flat and it's a whole lot safer. But they hung all the air and water lines, put in the ventilation system, and the railroad track. Then you had the stope miners here. That's what I did. I worked in the stopes here from 1970 to 1975. We got paid tonnage. We had a quarter to get out for the company. Anything over that was our bonus money. Now in 1975 here, we were only making $45 a day. That wasn't any money. What kept us here was the bonus. We called it JIPO. The last period I worked, $45 a day plus $116 a day in bonus money. So you're looking at about $160 a day in 1975. At that time, gasoline here was 27.9 a gallon. We had a little hamburger joint here in town called the Arctic Circle. 5 burgers for $1. God ate a lot of burgers back then too. Now, when the heyday of this mine here, when it was going full blast, from 1917 to 1927, there was 4,000 miners working here in Bisbee. 2,000 on day shift, 2,000 on swing. They were working 2 10-hour shifts. Now, at the same time here, Bisbee at that time was around 27,000 people. It was the largest city in Arizona territory. At that time, Tucson and Phoenix were little trail towns. Kind of hard to believe, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Now we got about 5,800 people. And they got a little bit more than that up there now, right? Any questions? I got this far the other day. There was a little boy in here. He was about 8 years old, I guess. And I asked, no question. Little boy raised his hand. I said, yeah, what can I do for you? And he looked at me like he was the maddest kid you ever seen in your life. I said, well, what is it? And real loud it come out of that little boy. Hey, mister, when you gonna get through talking? So we can go down there and ride that train again. So right now. So let's go do it. You guys be careful going down the steps, okay?
bag here out of. Right, this one.
Go in front of you so I can see better.
Yeah. Slide back. Slide back.
Okay, folks, we got about 850 feet to go till we get to the southwest. But about 350 feet down here on the left-hand side, you're gonna see a little cutout, kind of like this. If you look in there when we go by, you're gonna see a table and a bench. That's what they call a shifter shack. That's where the shift bosses kept track of all the footage for these crosscuts, the raises, and how much tonnage that came out of each stope every day. That's how we got paid our bonus. Everybody ready to go?
Yep.
Okay, enjoy the ride. to leave you. Okay, everyone, we're 1,500 feet in right now. You got about 450 feet of rock above your head at this point. Now, I want everyone to get off the train behind me and follow me back here to this light. Now, going down this crosscut, you guys use your lights, because that railroad sticks up. Don't want anyone to slip on the curb, okay? That's like this. You guys come on up, might have to double up a little bit so everybody can hear what's going on. There we go. You can even come in behind this motor, right in there where you can hear. You guys know what kind of rock that is in that box there? It's called leverite. Leave it right where you found it, because it ain't worth nothing. In 1915, when they finished this crosscut out here, they started hauling all the ore off the upper levels of this mine through these 4 extraction chutes behind me here. Now this goes back 15 feet that way, 22 feet across, and 200 feet straight up. They dump all the ore into this here, haul it out through these doors. It's what they call an ore pocket. Now, they had what they call trammers here. Young, husky men, some as young as 15 years old. Each one got one car. He would load it himself and then push it all the way outside where you got on that man trip by hand, dump it and push it back in here. Very, very hard work. They did that for 2 years for 25 cents an hour. Then they brought the mules down. Now the mules were taught on the surface to pull 4 of these cars. Well, you all know a mule can't count, right? But they were taught to listen to the chain. When that mule would hear that 4th chain rattle, he would take off on his own to go outside to go dump. Well, you gotta know miners. They figure if he'll do 4, he'll do 5. No. You hear that 5th chain rattle? Stop, dead in his tracks. Sometimes even set down. They refused to pull 5 cars. It was considered to be the first organized union. Well, the mules were kept down here about 5 years without ever going on the surface. And all they had down here was candles. They would start losing their sensitivity to light. Well, we had veterinarians on staff around the clock. When they noticed that mule was having problems, they'd blindfold him, take him up on the surface. We had what they call a dark barn. They put that mule in the dark barn and gradually let a little bit of light in. Every day, a little bit more. Within a week and a half to 2 weeks, that mule was sound, ready to go again. But they never brought him back underground. They figured they did their job here. What they did is they donated them to the ranchers and farmers around here. You come here and put your name in the book. When your name come up, good mule, he was give to you. Take him home, take good care of him. If a miner down here was ever caught mistreating a mule, he was fired on the spot. They didn't put up with it. Now, after the mules, we went these little Manchi motors. They would pull about 12 of these cars. It was a lot faster, but it wasn't fast enough. If you guys had time to look around outside a little bit, you might have seen that long motor out by the fence with that wooden pole on it, little wheel, trolley motor. They ran on these trolley lines here. That's 240 volts of DC current. That trolley motor would pull 22 3-ton cars, that's a 1-ton, at 35 miles an hour with no braking system. You heard it coming, you simply got out of the way. You got ran over. Now, 97 years of mining here. 386 men lost their life here in this mine. Thousands were injured. A lot more died from silicosis, which at that time they didn't know what it was. They thought the men had pneumonia. Are you guys all familiar with silicosis?
No.
Okay, you know how the coal miners get the black lung from the coal dust? Here, it was the silica. in the rock. Same thing, okay? Now, sometimes these chutes would get hung up. When they did, you'd take what they call a chute bar. You'd open that door just enough where you could get this chute bar under it and jam it into that rock. When it broke loose, you'd pull this out real quick because it would catch this bar and flip it right up. Then you could go ahead and load your car. But sometimes they would get hung up 15, 20 feet up there. Couldn't use that. Different method. 10-foot loading pole, stick of dynamite, and a 12-foot fuse. You cut about 6 foot of that fuse off, light it, stick it up underneath that door, and shut the door on the stick to make sure it didn't come flying back out of here, okay? 99% of the time, that would bring it down. If it didn't, put 2 sticks on it next time. I think we were allowed up to 6, something like that. Now, do I have any questions from anyone while we're right here? My partner's running a little slow down there. He don't talk as fast as I do. Okay, folks. Right here behind us, we're gonna go down this way. The first thing we're gonna go through there is a set of steel doors. Those are fire doors. They were put in here in 1917. You gotta remember back then, candles. All miners smoked cigarettes at that time. A lot of sawdust, a lot of timber. One thing in the wrong place, you had a fire. They shut those steel doors, shut the ventilation off, and try to smother it out. If that didn't work, they call a helmet crew in right away to get it put out. Now you guys come on, follow me back this way.
Yeah.
You guys come on down. This drill right here is the first drill that the miners got after swinging that 12-pound hammer all day long. You can imagine they loved it, but it had one bad fault. This didn't have a water source to it. You'd fire this thing up, within 6 to 8 minutes, it would be so dusty in here, you couldn't see me from where you're standing right there. They used it a very short period of time. And they got the nickname, they call it the Widowmaker, from the silica in the dust. Then we went to this one. This one here's got a water port. You screw the water hose on it. When you turn that water on, that water would come in here. There's a needle. It runs all the way up into that drill still. It's hollow. There's 2 holes on the end of the bit. Water shoot out there. Flip it on. Nice clean hole. No more dust. No more silicosis either. But this thing had its drawbacks too. This thing weighs 288 pounds. You'd have to drill a hole in the back, pinhole, hang a come along on it with a chain, wrap it around here, tighten it up. Now, loosen those 2 bolts. Back it up to where your next hole's gonna be. Tighten the bolts up, loosen the chain. Too slow. Then in 1950, we went to this one right here. This is a Gardner number 63. We call it a jack leg. It's the most impressive drill ever made. They still use these 75 years later underground because they're that good. And they're very, very loud. You always stood to the side of it like this here. That exhaust port's right there. 21 years underground, I hear nothing out of my right ear anymore from this machine. Now, when you got ready to start drilling with it, they used a lot of oil. The reason so much oil was, it not only had rotation, it had a hammer. The hammer was a rotation, okay? You fill up that oil bottle with water drill oil, get ready to start drilling. What you do is you put your foot right there on that closed foot and give it just a little bit of air. It would kind of set that closed foot in the ground. Flip that on, give it all its spot. You can drill a 7-foot hole with this in 6 minutes. It's that fast. One thing you never, ever did. You never got to scrabble this little drill. It's 150 pounds of air pressure in this leg pushing that drill. If it kicks out, it doesn't kick back. It kicks up. It only took me one time to never do that again.
What would they use for hearing protection?
Down here, we use
The shaft there
filter.
and.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't have it.
Yeah, that's right.
The only kind of protection we had down here was rubber
And
steel
so
bars.
Jake puts it in there with all this.
No safety glasses,
Basically
no hearing
turns the
protection.
case into a blender. And he also comes out.
Now,
So it's pretty bad. It gets
down
worse.
here, things have a little bit different terminology than what's up on the surface. Like you're standing
Yeah,
on the floor,
and then
right?
that's the toilet.
And here's
All right,
the
we're
ceiling.
taking a foot here, so we're gonna
Now,
get through
the
the
ceiling
script
is
here.
called the back.
And I'm gonna send you right through the back there, watch the rail.
This way. Just come up this way so that the fruit can get down through there. Wait, not some.
It is a toilet, yeah.
Now, like I said, invert, back, wall behind you, all the woods. Where This is the face. This is a standard round we use here in Bisbee. It's called a 5-hole burn. If you guys will look right here in the center, you'll see it. Right there. You drill this hole first, then 4 relievers around it. You only loaded this center hole. When you shot this here, you would take a ring out about that big around, 7 foot back, and shoot it out kind of like a shotgun. Now you have a hole to break to. You go to your closest reliever, this one, then this one, then this one, then this one. All you're doing now is just creating a bigger hole, that's all. All the way out, all the way down. And you always shot your bottom holes last, they're called lifters. They would pick that muck pile up and throw it this way. Made it a little easier for us to get it out of here. Now out of this round right here, you would get 40 ton of ore. 40 ton on day shift, 40 ton on swing. That's 80 ton out of one stope. We had hundreds of stopes. So you can imagine how much ore was going out of this mines here daily by train to the smelter in Douglas. At one time, this was the richest mine in the world, right here in Bisbee. It was furnishing almost 15% of the world's copper in this mine here. Do I have any questions about anything right here yet? Nope.
Neil, how would they do it? If there's that many guys in here, everyone would drill, start out in the beginning of their shift, drill.
Yep.
And then would everybody shut down for a blast at the same
Not
time?
everything. Quitting time.
Oh,
The
okay.
only time you could blast was at quitting time. Because it would take about 15 to 20 minutes just for the smoke and dust to clear. So we'd go up at, I think it was 3:45. The next crew would come down about 4:30. That way all the dust, smoke, everything was cleared out, and you're ready to go back to work. Now, there's one thing wrong with this mine, two things wrong with this mine. There should be another row of holes across the top up there, and another one over there by that post. The reason why, if you shot that round right there, and you had bad ground, you wouldn't have room for timber. You seen that timber set that was up in the slope, that square set? That's what we use in bad ground. You always made room for timber just in case. Now, any questions? Okay, let's go back this way. Guys, come on back where you can hear.
Did you guys get days off, or was it, did you get days off?
Yeah, we work 5 days a week. We're off every Saturday and Sunday. And also, we had a 3-week shutdown every year in the summer
Okay.
for vacation. Everybody took their vacation at the same time. Now, when you worked here for 1 year, you got 1 week's vacation. 5 years, 2 weeks. 10 years, you got 3 weeks. So you only had 1 week's vacation coming. They shut down for 2 weeks. They would ask you if you wanted to work those other 2 weeks, where you wouldn't get behind on your bills or anything. It was that good to us here. Now, when we got off the train out there, I told you were 1,500 feet in. You had about 450 feet of rock above your head. Well, you're still 1,500 feet in. Now you have 2,000 because of this mountain going straight up. Now, behind me here, this is what they call the skip. This is an interior shaft. It doesn't go to the surface. It just goes up to the 800-foot mark. So there was never any ore hauled out on this one here. Just men, materials, and mules. Now, mule's too big. He won't fit inside there. They had a big sling. They sling that mule up, tie his feet together and blindfold him, and hoist him under it. Take him to whichever level they needed that mule on. There'd be 2 miners waiting on him. Pull him out, take that sling off, untie his feet, take that blindfold off. Back out, get out of the way. Because that mule didn't like that ride one bit. Now, if you look over your head in here, some of this timber was put in here in 1917. Now, we only used pine and fir in these mines here. And it was all harvested out of northern Arizona and northern California. Now, a lot of people ask me, why didn't you guys use hardwood? It's a lot stronger. It is. Everyone knows that. But hardwood has a fault. It takes and takes and takes till it can't take anymore. It snaps and breaks. This stuff doesn't do that. It smashes, it makes noises, it lets you know if something's wrong, where you have time to fix it. Okay? Now, we had a lot of critters down here. We had mice, rats, cockroaches, bats, and an occasional scorpion would come down on the timber trucks. The company tried to poison them off. It didn't do any good, because the miners kept throwing their scrap lunches out. And they'd come right back again. Then we found out they were very important to us, and we didn't know it. They could feel movement 100 times before we could. If you look down at that track and you see those critters going out, by God, you go with them. It's gonna cave in. And you could set your watch within 5 to 10 minutes. It was that precise. Once we learned how to watch them, saved a lot of men's life here. Now, if you look right behind this young lady here, see that car? That's a K car. That thing holds 3 tons. That's what that trolley motor holds 22 of. Now, right back here, this is called a fender. This is probably the most antique piece of mining equipment that you'll ever be around. This thing doesn't run on dirt. It's got to have a rail. What they would do is they'd put a slide rail, one on the inside of each rail. When they got out as far as the end of the main rail, they'd back up and drop this bucket down and shove those slide rails out into that muck pile where they could finish mucking out. Now, a good operator could fill this car here in about a minute, that fast. Now, right here. This is what you call a slusher. This is what we used in the stopes. This thing here would be pointed towards that face. And right there where you're standing would be a raise going down to the next level. It had grizzly bars in it, every 8 inches, to keep any rocks over 8 inches from going down in there. If you got a bigger rock, you simply got off, double jack, broke it, got it down through. If you couldn't break it, go down and get about a quarter stick of powder. Put it on top of it, a little dirt on top of that, shoot it at lunchtime. That way you could get out, get finished mucking out. Now you could muck that 40 ton out with this thing here in about 45 minutes. It has 2 levers. The right hand one pulls the bucket to you. The left hand one takes it back to the face. See the bucket here behind me? You would put a pinhole in the face. You drill a center hole, put a pin in it, hang that scooping block on it, run the cable through it back to here. All you do is just like this. That was the only slack time that we got during the day. Like, all right, say I'm slushing out. Our partner would be going after timber or powder for the blast. By the time he got back, you'd be all cleaned up, ready to go. Put timber in, start drilling. You had to cycle every day to make bonus. If you didn't cycle, you're not gonna make any bonus. I was real lucky. I had some really good partners and opposite shifts. So I always made pretty good money here. Now, I have a question. Is anybody on our crew, anybody's birthday today? No one? Well, I have a little custom down here if it's your birthday. I have everyone sing happy birthday to you, that's all. It's kind of fun. And you get to sit up here on the throne, always sing to you. Right there. Now you folks all know what this is, right?
Yeah.
The original porta potty.
Yes. For some ungodly reason, the company called this a sanitary cart. We had a little different name on it, but there's a lot of children in here, I can't go into that today. And I never could understand why they made it a 2-hole. You shoot the breeze with your buddy? I think so. Now back in the 70s, when I first came to work here, they had a little initiation down here. New guy. They'd catch him on this thing with his britches down around his ankles. One of the miners would keep him looking that way. Another would sneak over and kick that wedge out, give a little push. All these drifts are on 2% grade going towards the station. He's headed that way. I'm trying to figure out how to stop this little jewel. That's not the brake. That's the dump. Part of the initiation was, you made the mess, you cleaned it up. I know. Now, I want to tell you guys a few little things about Phelps Dodge Company when we worked here for them. They were good to the men. If a miner here got stoked out, what I'm saying, you got hurt and you couldn't mine anymore, they would find you something that you could do until your retirement date. You'll never find another company ever do that for their men again. Now you get hurt, they throw you to workman's comp, they don't care if you come back. That's it. My father-in-law fell down a raise here, lost his right eye. The last 7 years that he worked here, all he had to do was sweep the station off once a day till he turned 63. What they would do, they'd let you get to your retirement date. That way you could draw your retirement from the company and Social Security. Pretty good thing to work for. Do I have any questions from anyone? No?
Where's that hole go to?
Pardon me?
The little ladder? Where's that hole go to?
It goes all the way down to the bottom level. It goes back and forth like this. Each 10 foot, there's a ladder going down.
And how far down does it go?
Okay, right now you're on the 300 level.
Mm-hmm.
They go down to the 100. So it'd be about 200 feet straight down. See, when they sink these, or drive these raises and stuff, there's 2 compartments. One side, every 10 feet, there's a ladder. One going this way, one going this way. A little platform. The other side's a chute. When they blast, everything goes down that side. Then they can get back up in there and go back to work. You guys see that bell system back there? That's standard in every mine in the United States. I don't care if it's a gold mine, silver mine, copper mine, whatever. I can go to any mine and it's the same signal system. That's what you do. Say you wanted to go up to the, say 500 or 700 level or something. Well, I have to remember, I haven't used it in so many years, but I have to look on there. It'll tell you how many bells to that next level. And if you got men on the thing, you're doing 3-2. And men on the thing. They go a lot slower when they're hauling men. When they're hauling materials and stuff, it's quick. Any questions?
Neil, that 100-foot between shafts,
Yeah.
is that industry standard kind of for the time, or just this specific
No, it was pretty much
density?
standard everywhere, about 100 feet. And that way you could come in from the bottom of the ore body or come in from the top of the ore body and mine down. Now, back in the day, when they first started mining here, it was hit and miss. They'd find a vein, they'd follow it till it run out, they'd stop. Then when we started using air equipment here, they'd long hole out, core drilling. They drill out like 150 feet, take a core out every 4 feet, put it in a box, send it up to the geologist. Now, if you hit any ore on that core drill, they'd fan that drill out at all different directions to see how big the ore body was before they went after it. Made it a lot easier on everyone. Now, about 4 years ago, I was riding around with my grandson, and he asked me, he said, "Hey, Papa, you ever been on that mine tour thing up there?" I said, "No." So I worked 21 years underground. You'll never catch me back down there again. Don't never say never, right? Well, my wife passed away. I caught myself sitting in the chair watching too much television. So I came up here and asked him, "You need any help on this mine tour thing?" I thought it'd be real simple, 6-8 people a day. No, took them 300, 400 a day. Anyway, I asked Doug for a job. He said, "Neil, did you ever work in the mines here?" I said, "Yeah, 70, 75. He said, "Okay, you're hired." That was easy. He said, "But if you can't come and have fun and have the people have fun, we don't want you here." And I have fun because I meet the nicest people every day from all over the world. It comes through here. It's hard to believe that many people. You guys look at the map up there of the world. Every country has been to this mine. Matter of fact, I went on Google last year, just looking around and top 50 places in the world to go see. I could not believe it came in 42nd out of 50. I can think of 500 places I'd rather go. Okay, folks, if I don't have any more questions, we're going to go back out to the train. My partner's going to have a little red can. Those blue tags that you have, it's called brass in, brass out. Drop them in the can, okay? We'll get back on the train now, facing back the opposite way towards the green light. When we get outside, I'll pull up as far as I can. We're going to go through the side door this time, behind the counter, just like you did to get your hats, light. Down at this end, put your lights on the counter. Battery on the outside, light on the inside. Hang your vest up. Hand me your hard hats, and I'll put them away. You guys have a great day in Bisbee. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, one other thing. We're not allowed down here to solicit tips. I just want to tell you guys that. But I do take them. I just can't solicit. You guys have a great day in Bisbee, huh?
Thank you.
Yes.
How many photos?
That way.
Okay, everyone, on behalf of my partner Frankie and myself, we want to thank each and every one of you for coming today. It was our pleasure to have you here. If you liked the tour today, my name is Neil. If you didn't, it's Steve. You guys got it? Good. Have a nice ride out, guys. Enjoy town. want to thank you again for coming. This will be running a long time.
What is your name? Eva.
Evangeline.
What's your real name?
Evangeline.
Evangeline. That's beautiful.
Evangeline Love.
Thank you, sir. Hope you have fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.